may take our lives, but they'll never take.
Are y'all ready to lock it up? Welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Bud Elliott. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Danny Cannell. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/Cover3 and all across the 24/7 Sports Facebook network. Thanks for hanging out. It's the best time of the week, 11 a.m. Eastern time on a Thursday when we give you our weekly locks. Week 3 on deck. Huge show, sketch week, as we determined already on Wednesday. Can't trust any of these teams. Can't trust any of these games with anything. But we're going to try to give you our best read on the slate. Let's begin, as we always do, with a look back at the week that was. Tom, it was a tough week for you, man.
Yeah. More ways than one.
More ways than one. Northwestern team total under 34.5. Kansas plus 13.5 is a winner, and they got it done on the field. The losses, Alabama, I always hate to see Unity take an L. UCF -5. The BYU Baylor over 53.5 went to extra time, and we couldn't even get that win. Colorado plus 18. That is a lock fight loss against Danny. And then also Unity taking another one on the chin with UNC Georgia State over. We fell just short there. 2-5 on the week, 8-11 on the season so far. I'm feeling the vibes are going to start turning around for you real soon here. Tom, how we doing?
God, I hope they do. As for last week, honestly, the only pick I hate in retrospect was taking Colorado, because that wasn't really like any kind of math basis to that. That was just no way in hell. Can't have a Power 5 team as a 3-score underdog to Air Force. Well, yeah, you can. And I don't think I'll be taking Colorado anytime soon again. The BYU Baylor over, losing on that hurt, but I think Nakua and Romney injuries had a big part of that. But other than that, I mean, I thought my card was fine. It's just some of the results didn't go our way.
Chip took a 5-3 week. The wins included BYU -3. That was a lock agreement with Danny. ACC boys ride again. Iowa State plus 3.5. They get it done on the field. Northwestern Duke under 58.5. Got real sweaty, but a nice fumble recovery. Was able to bring that home by the Duke defense. UNLV plus 13. Real low scoring grinder against Cal. Memphis -5.5. Also a winner. I was on the losing side of both of the lock unities that we already mentioned, the UNC Georgia State over and the Alabama -19.5. Also, Tennessee -0.5 point in the first quarter does not cash. So it falls to like 321 more than they had before. So Tennessee not quite as dominant in the first quarter. 5-3 on the week, 12-7 on the season. Danny, absolute heater. 6-1 on the week. The wins were that under in UCF Louisville, never a doubt. The under in Alabama, Texas, never a doubt. The under in Pitt, Tennessee, like really not really much of a doubt there as things slow down there. Never a doubt in Iowa State under 40.5. As we mentioned, you get the lock fight win with Air Force. That we get that BYU lock agreement. The only loss being North Carolina and Georgia State, and even that came close. 15-8 on the season. Again, 6-1. You won the week. You take over first place for the season, up 6.2 units. Woo! How we feeling?
Feeling really good. Really good. There was a theme to my mindset, and I'm going to make a note of it last year because I don't like week 1. Week 0 and week 1, like, what are you going to get? But there's always a massive letdown in week 2, like performances. You see teams kind of with this massive hangover effect. And also in my picks with Brady Quinn on the Tuesday, like I took a lot of dogs. Like there's just an overreaction to, oh my gosh, this is the greatest team we've seen, or this is the worst team we've seen. So I really used that as a philosophy last week. But I might be under boy just from now, but like, or boy under as opposed to boy wonder. Should be boy under.
Ooh,
I don't
like it.
As I'm thinking out loud on the fly, that might have to be what I go with, because if I would have taken the under in the last one, I would have been perfect. So I might just have to keep riding those.
Boy under Danny Cannell got it rolling. Bud, tough week, 2-6. The wins were the Iowa first half team total under 21.5. Oh, no, the Iowa full game. Iowa under 21.5. I mean, come on. Wake minus 12 against Vandy. That's also a win. You were in on the Alabama. The other losses were the Kentucky team total under, the Pitt +4 in the first half, USC Stanford under. USC really kind of let Stanford crawl back in that one near the end. The Colorado Air Force under 49.5, and the Toledo UMass Sicko under 49.5 was a loss. 2-6 on the week, but 17-10 for the season. What were the main notes and the takeaways?
Yeah, so I would say bad picks. Alabama was definitely bad. UMass Toledo was the wrong side. By the way, what is Don Brown doing kicking a field goal down 40 points? Like, are they? I'm not going to accuse them of betting the live over at halftime or something like that. But as someone who did have some live unders in that game and lost because of a field goal down 40 in the closing seconds, makes you wonder. USC Stanford was the wrong side for sure, because if Stanford doesn't turn the ball over 3 times inside like the low red zone, that game is played in like the high 70s. So I was definitely wrong sided there. I think Pitt first half was the correct side. Narduzzi completely botched the end of half game management. And if they're not punting in opponent territory with time left and then trying to go for it with 9 seconds in their own territory and then sack, fumble, quarterback knocked out, that makes me a little annoyed. And then look, Kentucky had 270 yards, and Kentucky fans will tell me, oh, they had negative 40 yards in a punt. Cool. Give them 310 yards then. Under 23.5 is still a great look if you only have 310 yards in the swamp. That game was lost because of turnovers. So a couple really bad picks and a couple that, honestly, if I had to do over again, I'd bet more on, even though they lost.
I will just say that in my book, that Pitt was not a loss. That was a win. That just went wrong.
Yeah. Oh, wait. In your, like, the number that you had?
No, I didn't have it. I was just saying, watching that Pitt-Tennessee game, knowing Bud had Pitt +4 in the first half and seeing how the first half ended, I was pissed off, and I didn't have anything on it.
We look out for each other. That's what we do. It's why we've still got all of that wonderful ROI as a team for the entire season. All right, week 2 in the books, week 3 on deck. Gentlemen, are y'all ready to lock it up?
Let's do it.
Since 2005, the under in games between service academies is 40-9-1.
Give me an over in this one as well. A little 2-for-1 special.
I was in Sicko last week. Y'all were watching videos. I was live betting the hell out of UL in Kentucky.
My blue plate special 5-star locks are coming.
5-star master lock. Lock it up. These locks.
I'm living and dying every point, every coverage.
Danny Cannell did win week 2, and he has the honors on the tee box. And there is a Friday night game involving a team that's close to his heart. So I want to get things started by asking, do you have a lock for Friday night in Louisville in Cardinal Stadium?
I don't. I obviously will be rooting for Mike Norvell and my Seminoles. This game scares me. It really does. Like, and you talk about sketch games, like what are we going to get from Louisville? The team that laid an egg versus Syracuse, and maybe Syracuse is really good, but they still only put up 7 points. Or are they going to be a team that found themselves in the second half versus UCF? And with Florida State, a week, 2 weeks off to only be told, you guys look great. Like, whew, way to go. Patting you on the back for 2 weeks. I think there could be a little rust, and I think you're going to get Louisville's best effort. This game scares me. I think it's an avoid. Plus, everybody and their brother is on the Knolls, just thinking, hey, it's only 2.5. Like, just lay that. Let's go. Let's take them. This game scares me from Mike Norvell. I do not have a play on it. I would lean under in this game. Of course, boy under would have to, but I don't have a play in the game. Anybody else?
I do.
Let's hear Tom's.
Well, I just want to start this off by saying that, just so our listeners know, this is the least prep I have ever done for a Locks pod. So take that for what it's worth. It's been a very long week here. On Saturday night, you remember, like, I was having back spasms during the show. That's not why I missed Monday and Wednesday show. My back healed up really quickly on Sunday because if you were watching the Bears game against the 49ers and you saw all the rain at Soldier Field and you saw Justin Fields and the guys having fun after the game by sliding in the rain, wasn't as fun as my house where we had 6 inches of water in the basement from all of that rain. So I've been dealing with that all week. It's taken up a lot of my time for the prep for this show, but I do believe in all these picks. I just didn't do as much prep as I normally would. And I'm going with the under in this one. So I guess I'm boy under here just because I think that, honestly, I would have this closer to 54. So I'm getting 3.5 points. It's not the most edge I would ever look for when making a play like this, but I do think that there's enough there. I don't think either one of these offenses is fantastic or has looked fantastic from what I've seen. I think defensively, they're not great, but I thought Louisville's defense played better against UCF, so maybe it just didn't really know what the heck it was in for against Syracuse in that first game with a new offensive coordinator and was caught completely off guard. I think Florida State's defense is still pretty solid, so I think this is going to be below the total, so give me the under 57.5. And also, I don't have access to all the numbers I normally do, so Bud, if you see
Tom,
a better number out there, let me know.
Let's get you the best number here. We're going to pull up our unabated odds screen and got to get off the sicko mode.
While you're looking
first
those
half
up,
money line stuff.
while you're looking those up, you know what I like to do? I like to be a good friend. I like to hop on. I need a good sidekick. Boy under needs a good sidekick. Go ahead, give me the under 2. I was leaning that way anyway.
Yeah.
Let's go. I think Florida State. I'm tempted to take the first half under because I'm a little bit worried about what could happen in the second half. But I think Florida State take a little bit to get back up to speed offensively. I think the defensive front showed what they're capable of against LSU. I think they'll have some success as well. So I think this will be a little bit of a lower scoring affair. I had 57.5. Is that what we had the best?
Yeah.
I think Florida State wins. I mean, I just I'm not locking this up, but if we're just going to go like leans here, but keeping Malik Cunningham in check is going to be a lot better when you've got Jared Verse and Tatum Bethune. Like I think that offensive line, while it's got Caleb Chandler, is maybe going to have its hands full. And the Louisville coaches have been saying some of the same stuff we've been saying on the Cover 3 podcast, that Florida State's defensive front might be one of the best in the ACC. So the rust early factor, I understand why it scares you, but ultimately I think FSU probably wins that game. But do you have a read on that?
I went 27-23 on Nolecast. Like but it's not like a super high degree of confidence. I don't love this FSU team when the opposing team has a really good like zero technique nose. This is pretty nitty gritty, but like I watch FSU a lot. So like Maurice Smith, I think, is a guy that's going to be a really good center, but he's undersized. He's had injury problems throughout his career so far. Louisville does not have that. The kid, remember when we talked about getting Jermaine Lowell and beating Florida out for him, the big time, potentially big time kid from Arizona State? He dislocated his elbow in game 1. He's out for the entire season. So Louisville's nose guard position has been bad, and I think FSU actually will be able to have some success running the football in this one. But the only thing that scares me off the under, I'm not joining you guys, is Louisville so far has had to blitz their behinds off, and that could lead to explosive play type fest and also turnovers in your own end type thing. Like they sent the house second half against Syracuse and second half against UCF.
So I'm a little bit sad to report that, and Tom, feel free to correct me here, but as it happens when the sun goes down, because we know that the sun powers the wind, our other Friday night game is going to be in Laramie, and it's Air Force Service Academy in Laramie against Wyoming. We'll have our friend Sherry Burris on the call with Rich Walton, Aaron Taylor on CBS Sports Network, the mothership. But while the winds will reach 13 miles an hour on Friday, it's going to be at 1 p.m. I don't think we've got sufficient winds for this to be windy in Laramie. Is that correct, Tom?
That is correct.
Okay. It's tough scene out there. All right, Danny, let's take it to Saturday.
No. Let's play that music early. I've got a lock here in Laramie.
It's gonna be windy in Laramie.
Not that music. This qualifies as sicko mode.
Okay. No, wait. No, wait. Air Force Wyoming is not sicko mode. Air Force is a legitimate top 30 team in college.
Hold on. We got to hear the play before we decide. It might be sicko mode.
The play is Wyoming team total first half under 7.5. All
There
day.
you go.
I don't think Wyoming's scoring in the first half. I'm a little bit lower on some of the teams in the bottom of the Sun Belt. If things go wrong, they could be like UMass, UConn. That's kind of like sicko mode of a sicko mode.
Okay. Wyoming team total first half under.
Look, so Wyoming's right tackle Crum might be out again for this game. Their offensive line is already poor. Their offense, as Tom saw them up close and personal against Illinois, is really pretty bad. Peasley's a mobile quarterback, but I think the Air Force is well equipped to defend that. And I don't really want the whole game under for them because it's like stuff happens at the end. I think Air Force will be ready to come out, and I wouldn't shock me if Air Force shuts out Wyoming in the first half of this game. Just hoping for no option fumbles in their own end.
All right, Danny, back to our week 2 winner, our season leader right now. Take us to Saturday. Let's hit a big game and where you can lock on.
Let's do it. This is a game that we've had a lot of attention on because it involves a squad who just fired its coach and brings in the interim Mickey Joseph to try to capture some of that emotional rebound. Like, hey, you guys have been awful, but it's all his fault. Let's get rid of him. You guys are still good. And on the other side, you've got Oklahoma and you've got Brent Venables and you got this offense, you got some firepower. It's a big game. I have 2 plays on this, not one, but 2. Oh, I shouldn't play.
No. 2 for 1 special. That's
2 for 1 special. Let's go. Last year we saw Gary Patterson with a statue in front of the stadium fired, just cast aside in a year where TCU was awful. Remember what happened the next week? It was Baylor that they surprise upset. They had lost 3 in a row. How are they going to beat Baylor? Beat Baylor at home. Team storms the field. This game's in Lincoln. I think you're going to see a ton of fans. But more importantly, with the breakdown itself, Oklahoma hasn't been tested yet. Nebraska's been tested every single game. Now, you could say, hey, well, they've started losing in these one-possession games. Well, guess what they all have in common? They are one-possession games. They're going to be close. I'm going to go ahead and take the Cornhuskers. I'm taking them with the 10.5. I think I could still get.
Oh, man. Is that where it is?
You can get 10.5 and you can get 10.
All right, I want 10.5.
You can get both, actually.
I only want 10.5 because I'm taking the underdog. I'm taking the Cornhuskers in this one. And I'm also on the over. Boy, under, going a little against the grain. That's why I wanted to save that one till later. But it is a 2 for 1 special. So I'm not worried at all about Oklahoma's offense. I think, Nebraska's defense has been a sieve. I mean, if Northwestern's able to put up some points against them, I'm still not sure about, and I know there's a mindset of Brent Venables, and I think the defense is better than it's been in years past. But Nebraska, think about if Scott Frost had anything to say in that offense, it probably would have been dialed back a little bit. Now you've got Mark Whipple taking over full control. Here you go. Here's your offense. Now he realizes, I'm probably coaching for another job. Next year, this whole coaching staff probably going to be cleaned out. He's going to want to put up numbers. I think they've got the capability to do that against this Oklahoma defense. And quietly, Anthony Grant, their running back, has gone for 101, 189, and 138 and 5 touchdowns. He's had really quietly a good year. We all been so focused on quarterback play in Nebraska's debacle. I think we're kind of forgetting what they are. So I think it's going to be more of a big.
You know where he signed at, right?
Where did he sign?
Willie signed him in Tallahassee.
He did.
And they really wowed him that one spring practice. Then he had some problems and then had to go JUCO. And like talent-wise, he's a dude.
Yeah, I had forgot about that. So I'm on Nebraska as the dog, getting 10.5, and I'm on the over 66.5, I think is the number. The best.
Anybody else getting in on this game?
Yeah, let's fight.
Fight.
All right, so Oklahoma. Gosh, there's so many Oklahoma players on USC. It confuses me sometimes. Oklahoma is expected to get tackle Wanye Morris back for this game. I think Oklahoma is by far the best offense Nebraska has seen so far, and even offenses that I don't necessarily think are that good in Northwestern and Georgia Southern have dropped mid-30s to literally the 40s on the Cornhuskers. I think Oklahoma drops a 50 burger in Lincoln. I think this defense is just not going to get better. I don't think it's a motivational issue. I think Shenander for Nebraska is a hell of a coordinator. We praised this guy a lot last year. They don't have players. I don't think they can keep up. I think this is a game that Venables lets the offensive coordinator, Jeff Lebby, just cook tempo-wise. And so, Danny, I agree with your look at over. But to me, I think Oklahoma's safeties on the back end, Billy Bowman especially, are really pretty good. I think they will limit Nebraska's explosive plays, get some wins in the red zone, and I think they win this thing by 20+ in Lincoln. I don't think Nebraska's going to play all that well.
Bad vibes. Don't want any part of it.
All right.
Could go either way, but I'm looking at this game and it feels like a.
Oh, and I can get 10 on that, by the way.
Yeah,
at 2 spots. Yeah,
it feels like a money line or alt line, where I'm either going to take Nebraska to win the game, because if it's close, I actually see Nebraska flipping that, because Oklahoma in a close game is going to go into don't lose, don't screw it up, don't embarrass yourselves mentality, and Oklahoma also, I think, could blow it open. So hard pass for me. All right, let's see. Tom, where would you like to go?
Let's go with one of the bigger games of the weekend. Miami, Texas A&M. Texas A&M's offense sucks. We know it sucks, but talked a lot about how it sucks on Saturday. And I think talked about it again on Monday. I don't expect things are going to improve much. And the Miami offense, I think you guys talked about it yesterday in Sketch Week, it's put up really good numbers, but it's done so against Florida A&M and Southern Miss. So it's one of those situations where it's you don't really know how good it truly is. This is far and away the best defense it will have faced to this point. I also think we've seen it just in the history of his coaching tenure at Oregon in big games. Mario Cristobal tends to play things close to the vest, tends to get tight. He wants to keep things slow. I like the under here between the Hurricanes and the Aggies. As far as I know, the best number is 44.5, but I would love a higher one if you can
45. Get us a 45 out there.
I can't find a 45.
100% in on that one. If I wouldn't hate trying to jump on maybe a Miami team total under 2. There's definitely a lot of different ways to approach this, a lot of different ways to attack it. I wish 45 was out there, but as soon as this thing came out, there's a lot of times where the notes that I make on Monday night when I'm going through the entire slate and writing down my picks, the number moves the other way. I'm like the opposite of CLV. And then I just have to dig in on bad numbers that I already liked on Monday night. But this is one where immediately, as soon as it came out, where I think it was 45 or 45.5, I was like, this thing's going to go under. So at 44.5, if that's the best thing we can get right now, this one screams playing real tight. Both coaches playing real tight late into a close and low-scoring game.
I saw Latifa at the U.S. Open a lot. Give it to me.
Yes.
Yes.
Same reason you guys give, but I think this game has 24-17, kind of all over it, in favor of the Aggies. I think it's a big bounce back week for the Aggies. I am very curious to see how Miami physically stacks up in this game against Texas A&M. I think the worst thing that happened to Miami was that they did lose to App State. I think they'll be a little bit woken up. My goodness, if Jimbo loses this game, holy cow. There's already people looking up his buyouts and discovering that it's $85 million. Have fun with that. But I think Texas A&M gets back on track this week. So I'm going to lay the 5 as well with the Aggies as the under. Little 2-for-1 special.
Texas A&M might have to bench Haynes King to win this game, but if I see Haynes King get benched, I all of a sudden start to sweat a lot more. Anything that could be mixing up what I know, because what I know of Texas A&M's offense as it has performed so far is fantastic for the under. So
let's.
Oh no way!
Oh yeah,
Infinity.
Play it.
The world is about to feel something that they never felt before.
To infinity and beyond.
Let y'all know.
If we know that we're gonna have an infinity coming up, by the way, we should get the board. I got to. Does Does he play with like a little Buzz Lightyear toy? Because I know Liam has one, and like I hear all these slogans all the time. Like we should have the kids announce an Infinity one day if they're home, which he's not. He's at school, but I'm sure Miss Walker would let him skip. All right, so I bet this at open 48.5. I missed the 49. If you guys got the 49, I hate you. But 48.5, and I make this number in the 30s. I think that I actually wouldn't hate if Max Johnson plays this because I feel like he is more careful with the football. And to me, the way we lose this, the way we lose this isn't both teams going off and suddenly figuring out how to score a lot of points. I think the way we lose this is turnovers, bad field position, that type of stuff, which Haynes King is prone to. But anything over 44, I got to hit this. So, yeah, it's a bet for me.
Love it.
Love to see the infinity on the board.
It's the first one, right, of the year?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And this game's probably ending as the instant reaction show is going on. So
our week will swing on this.
I'll probably just be pulling back into the crib from the UCF FAU game, which kicks off at 7:30. Get to catch the second half, hopefully.
Oh, what a great draw for you. Right?
I mean, been better. Well, yeah, home front. Yeah. It would have been better if UCF was 2-0. It'd be a little more interesting, but the fact they lost. But yeah, right down the street.
I'm team Danny sleep hours. So
yes, huge win.
That's what I'm going for with the huge win right there. All right. So that's one of the biggest games of the weekend. What about on the want to make sure that before we hit the break, hit the SEC on CBS game of the week, Penn State's visit to the Plains to take on Auburn. That thing has just been sitting with Penn State as a 3-point favorite on the road. Anybody getting in with a play on the Nittany Lions and the Tigers?
Yeah, I got one.
All right.
Auburn team total under 23 all day.
Okay.
Nope. I mean, like I think this all, again, just if you guys haven't watched the Monday show, the Sunday show, or the Saturday show, rather, any of our offseason content, I think Auburn has the worst receivers in the SEC, not named Vanderbilt. I think they have a terrible quarterback situation. They brought in Calzada to win that job because they did not like TJ Finley. Calzada played poorly in camp, did not win the job. They do not have a serviceable quarterback. They lost Nick Brahms on the offensive line, their center. They felt really good preseason about their starting five. They did not like their depth. Well, guess what? They have to tap into their depth immediately. I think Penn State has a couple of really nice corners who can play man coverage and blitz if they need to and be okay on the back end. And I don't think that Penn State is going to play a super risky offense because they won't need to win the game. But Auburn under 23 is my best look in this one.
Earlier in the show, I talked about how my Colorado pick last week was far and away my worst pick because it was just based on principle, and we were throwing that one out. But just because I'm throwing one principle out does not mean I am no longer a man of principle. Auburn +3.
Yeah,
let's SEC team at home in a non-conference game getting points. We saw it a few weeks ago when Florida was at home against the top 10 Utah Utes. Florida won the game. Penn State's not as good as Utah. Auburn, not as good as Florida. But at home in Jordan-Hare, if we go back and think of Penn State at Purdue to open the season, they covered, but they did not exactly look good. Sean Clifford, his knee is still bothering him. He does not have the same kind of mobility that has kind of taken him from a Jag to a Jag plus throughout his career. And when he doesn't have that mobility, he's more of a Jag. That offensive line was not great against Purdue's defensive front, which I don't think is very good. I think Auburn's defensive front is probably better. I think the Nittany Lions offense is going to struggle just as much in this game as the Auburn offense will. And I think in that environment, I got to take the Tigers at home getting the points. I'm not saying they're going to win. Like I picked Florida on the money line that week thinking it was going to win. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. I just don't see this as a game where either one of these teams is going to be able to pull away from the other one. So Auburn +3.
I mean, inexplicable results in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I'm kind of with you there. I nothing about the numbers or the schemes or the way this stacks up suggests that the Tigers are on the level. And also, Tom, you're Mr. Auburn.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
This is you getting to back up your preseason belief when everybody was ready to set sail. I mean, this game could go to Mexico, baby, and just wait it out. Just let it get close, let it get tight, let things get if they can control Singleton, who went off for $179 on 10 in 2 tutties on 10 carries, then I think Auburn's best chance is just have this thing close late, and that's yeah.
Are you locking it up too?
Auburn has got to have the best back in this game.
Yes, Bigsby.
If Bigsby is not clearly better than Singleton, and I'm not convinced he is, then Auburn's not winning it.
Chip, are you locking it up too?
No.
Sorry, man, my bad.
No, okay.
I've had to talk about this game.
You've only got one lock on the board.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, listen.
What are you doing over there?
Well,
you joining us this week?
We've just been talking about the big games, and so we haven't really gone off and stopped on these detours along the way. I mean, I can just roll through 2 quick ones before we hit the break. This one.
No, do what you want. Sorry.
All right. First of all, let's talk about what happens at that meeting at midfield. I'm not a head coach. I've never really been there, but I can certainly imagine what happens at that meeting at midfield, but between coaches. Well, hey, Shane, how's it going? Let's make sure nobody gets hurt today. All right, let's get out of here. Nice, quick 3-hour game. All right. Okay, cool. Hey, good luck out there. Gentlemen, under. Georgia, South Carolina, 55. We're going under. This is going to be a position where at the very beginning of the game, a South Carolina offensive line that has not been able to block anybody, it will be extremely clear that they are not going to be able to block, I don't know, one of the better defenses in the entire country. And as that starts to unfold, we will also see Georgia, maybe not even worrying too much. Like, I think Georgia puts up a couple scores early, but then we see the air get taken out of the ball. We see, Kirby Smart and his staff put in a bunch of the backups. And there's so much respect, so much mutual respect between Kirby Smart and Shane Beamer that ultimately I think the clock just moves all through this second half. And we just see a crispy 3-hour game. Final score, something like 42-3, maybe a sad field goal so that Beamer can get the special teams some work out there after a third string running back ends up putting the ball on the ground with in scoring territory for the Gamecocks. And so much like we saw Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp play some gentlemanly games that were lower scoring, I think the same sort of principle applies here. Gentlemen's under in Georgia, South Carolina. We go under 55.
You just said it. Like, do you think the final score could be 42-3?
Yeah.
That's why I'm going with the South Carolina team total under 14.5, because I was considering taking Georgia laying the points. It was 24.5 last I checked. Just like the South Carolina offense, it's just not what I've seen of it has not been very impressive. And I think going up against this Georgia defense, I don't think it's going to be like suddenly flipping the switch and looking good. I just don't think the Gamecocks are going to be able to score a ton of points here, but at least this way, I don't have to worry about maybe Georgia, Stetson Bennett, the best quarterback in the country, going off for 4 or 5 touchdowns against them and blowing the game over or the under. So I'm just going to take South Carolina team total under 14.5.
Anybody else in on this game?
I got to use some discipline. I love where you're thinking. I want to hop on with you, but I already got a bunch of plays, so I'm going to stay off of it.
All right, Tom,
I'm a little worried though about this. Like,
the Rattler scrambling late touchdown that's what I would worry about.
I mean, look, part of this that scares me is intent, right? What is Shane Beamer's intent in this game? Is it to try to win the game? Because I don't think they can. South Carolina has a ton of defensive injuries. Kaba, the starting linebacker, is out. Strahan, the defensive end they got from Georgia State a couple years back, is out. They got 4 more guys who are kind of questionable, including Cam Smith, who's one of the best corners in the SEC. Mm-hmm. Like, if South Carolina's cool with just playing like a low-scoring, please don't beat us by 40 type game, I think Kirby Smart would respond in kind, because Georgia has not maybe run the ball quite as dominantly as you would have wanted them to. And so they'd be like, yeah, South Carolina, your run defense sucks, as we saw with Arkansas. We'll work on our run game today. We'll win by 24 and a nice, comfortable, low-scoring victory. But if South Carolina comes out and spreads the field and tries to chuck it a lot, they don't have the defense to hold Georgia. Like, Georgia will drop a 50 spot on them in this thing, that's the reason I'm not joining you guys, because I don't have the ability to judge Beamer's intent here. Like, is he trying not to get embarrassed, which he's a smart guy, image management matters, and he's very good at that, or is he actually trying to win the game? Because I don't think South Carolina can win the game, but we'll see if he does.
Tom, you mentioned the principle of a Power 5 team catching all those points against a Mountain West team. The Colorado Buffaloes are a Power 5 team in name only, and they are visiting a Minnesota team that under PJ Fleck, when given the opportunity, has been willing to run it up and hit the gas on you. We've got this thing under 4 touchdowns right now. I still got my 27.5 available with the Golden Gophers.
Yeah, should be.
Lay 'em. This is one of the last opportunities to be able to get in on some of these teams where with the product on the field has not matched the power rating. The product on the field has not matched the preseason expectation. We look at the Big Ten West, which is all upside down. I do not think that Minnesota is without a doubt the best team, as some people might have suggested following the losses to Iowa and Wisconsin. But Minnesota is certainly a team that's good enough to be able to win this thing by 30. So I'll lay the big number with the Golden Gophers against Colorado, a team that plays in the Pac-12 but has been performing like a group of 5 program so far this year.
I just want to point out, like, Tanner Morgan's back.
Yeah.
In as a freshman in 2018, he averaged 9.2 yards per attempt. In 2019, which is the year where they kind of just burst on the scene, Shiraka was the OC, had 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He averaged 10.2 yards a attempt. Shiraka leaves, goes to Penn State at the time. In comes Sanford. Tanner immediately drops to 7.5 yards per attempt in 2020. 2021, that improves a little bit to 8.2 with 10 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Shiraka's back, 2022. He's only got 1 touchdown, but he's completing 73% of his passes for 12.5 per attempt.
I mean, they are just rolling. They have not been tested yet, but I think that they've got that gear to be able to blow a team out. And I think that they flex that against the Buffs as they prepare to take on the Big Ten and make a run at the Big Ten West title.
I do have one in this game too. I know I got a lot this week. Sorry, guys. But maybe I'm not going to apologize for having a lot, but maybe I'm taking up too much of the spreadsheet. Cole, if you have to redo the cool graphics you're making, I apologize. I'm going first half team total under in this one again. We took it against Minnesota with New Mexico State. They didn't score. I'm not going to rule out the possibility that Colorado scores a field goal, but it's 4.5 right now on DK. All right. I don't think you're getting 2 field goals. I don't think you're getting a touchdown. Joe Rossi's defense is legit. And first half team total under 4.5 with Colorado. I think shutout in the first half is very much within range. JT Stroud was 5 of 21 last week passing, and he was an upgrade over Brandon Lewis. That's terrible.
Colorado's not good.
No.
Their offense in particular is not good. The defense, I think, might be okay, but if I was on that defense, I would want to quit like every game.
Yeah.
Because that offense is just hopeless.
Coming up on the other side, we continue with our week 3 locks, including a look at USC in the late night slate and a very interesting Big Ten Pac-12 showdown in primetime. That and more next.
The UEFA Champions League. 9 months of heart-stopping, hold-your-breath acceleration. While Mbappe shines in the city of lights, Benzema's racking up the hat tricks, and the Reds want more magic in Liverpool. This ain't amateur hour. This is the best of the best of the best. This is the UEFA Champions League. Stream every match live on Paramount+.
Quick review of what we've got so far. Again, our first lock infinity of the season with Miami, Texas A&M under 44.5. Tom is also on the under 57.5 in Florida State, Louisville, Auburn +3, and South Carolina team total under 14.5. I'm also on the under 55 in Georgia, South Carolina, and Minnesota -27.5. Danny also on that Florida State, Louisville under 57.5, Nebraska +10.5, and the Nebraska-Oklahoma over 66.5, plus Texas A&M -5. Bud coming in with Wyoming team total first half under 7.5. The Colorado first half team total under 4.5. Auburn full game team total under 23, and a lock fight with DK taking Oklahoma -10. Does anybody have a lock on Washington, Michigan State?
I don't. Anybody got one?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it for like the purposes of like testing my own theory here with risking a lock. Like this is I'm putting a unit on the table just to see what happens out here. Obviously, the fact that Michigan State has developed in a very, very impressive pass rush is maybe a little bit concerning. Washington hasn't really been tested yet, but Michael Penix has looked very good. And Kalen DeBoer with Michael Penix has yielded good results before and seems to yield good results again. Now, Mel Tucker and his staff haven't necessarily faced the Michael Penix Indiana experience, but the older players on this team who are still there, they have that experience. That could be an edge for the Spartans. But ultimately, I think that this is a great opportunity to be able to jump on a Washington team that has flipped so much of the they flipped so much of the energy, so much of the vibe. Like, they just look like they are having so much more fun on offense. And with the transition from Jimmy Lake to Kalen DeBoer, they still have good players on the defensive side of the ball. And Michigan State wide receiver Jaden Reed, like arguably one of the most important players on this Spartans offense, is a little bit banged up. He could play, but he's certainly sore, according to Mel Tucker. There is obviously the optics too. You've got the number 11 team in the polls that is a 3.5-point underdog against an unranked team. What's going on here? What's going on here is that the Huskies are capable of winning this game and covering this game. A fantastic opportunity for DeBoer and this Washington program to show out. I know we are not using the divisions anymore, but I think this could be a continuation of more of our, we had the Pac-12 as our upon further review on Monday. I think that this is a spot where Washington wins, and we continue to look at that conference as being one of the more intriguing conferences in the country, both for how many quality teams it seems to have, but also for sort of the upheaval from what our preseason expectations were. So I will take Washington, Michael Penix, a Huskies offense that has some life, and a Michigan State pass defense that, while not dead ass last anymore, as Mel Tucker said, it's got good pass rush, but I think that secondary might be able to, might be a little vulnerable. So we have not seen Washington play against a team to give us any certainty, but I do think that I can trust what has been changed and the roster that's in place and be able to take the Huskies at home.
One of the hosts on the first radio show that ever gave me a real shot, like 15 years ago, Miller Moulton. Miller's a pretty big Michigan State guy, and he told me flat out, we suck. So I was like, why is this 3.5? He's like, dude, we're not good. I was like, okay, that's good to know. Now, I will note, if you guys watched who did they play in the opening game? It wasn't an FCS. It was somebody pretty bad.
Michigan State or Washington?
They play Eastern?
It was
Michigan
Eastern
State.
or Western or Central, one of them. I think it was Western.
Their starting safety and their nickelback both went down. I don't think those guys are back. And that was bad secondary last year. So this could be why this number is what it is, right? Like, they don't think Michigan State can cover. Like, cover receivers, not cover the spread, but also that.
Yeah. All right. What about, let's see, are there any other big games that we want to make sure we spotlight before we start to get even further off the road?
I got one. I mean,
let's go.
We're just going to, why we always cast aside the ACC? We got a big matchup. Big 12s come to town.
We definitely don't talk enough ACC on this show.
That's right. 2-0, Texas Tech going to Raleigh. Take on Dave Dorn and Devin Leary, who avoided absolute disaster at East Carolina week 1. I was like, how the heck did I think Devin Leary is the best quarterback in the ACC after that game? What happened to this physical defense? Guess what else I forgot? College football doesn't have a preseason. You don't hit as much. Takes a little bit of time. Corrected those issues versus Charleston Southern. Devin Leary gets back on track. And Texas Tech coming off not one, but two pretty emotional games with a backup quarterback who showed that he might be a younger, more inexperienced quarterback through 3 picks this past weekend in the win against Houston. Go ahead and give me the Wolfpack laying 10. I think NC State woke up. I think they're going to get back on track. I think they're going to be fine.
Oh, listen, here, this is where I've got to maintain my own personal integrity across the many platforms that I try to exhibit this multi-platform excellence, because you catch me on Wednesday, I was out here on the Early Edge podcast discussing that what we have seen from NC State in terms of its conservative approach to offense is going to always leave that back door open. And that while Mississippi State only scored 24 points against this NC State team, Will Rogers was able to distribute the ball without a lot of disruption, pretty high completion percentage. But, you catch me on Thursday on the Cover 3 Locks pod, which listen, this is when I'm trying to give you my best stuff. My guy Josh Goodson comes through with this. NC State is 7-2-1 against the spread in their last 10 as a home favorite of 10+ points. Diamond Dave, good as a fave. This is a game where he needs to get the best out of the Wolfpack to get them poised with an October 1st trip to Clemson on deck. I made the pick for Texas Tech earlier in the week. I think that's not the right side. Danny, I like that side that you're going right there. I'm not going to lock it up for the integrity purposes, but I will give you my full support. I think that with my most recent information, that's the Wolfpack are probably the right side.
Do they have, okay, no, they don't have a bye. I thought they might have had a bye. They have UConn next.
So they've got a bye.
Yes.
Yeah, UConn's pretty bad.
But I meant the days off carrot that a lot of coaches will dangle. Like in the bye week, they'll say, hey, if you win this game, we'll give you 4 days off. But if you lose, we're going to stick to our normal schedule and you only get 1 day to go home. Whatever it is, I thought that might have been a possibility.
No, and they're getting UConn after UConn has to play Michigan.
Yes.
Like that's going to be a beaten down Huskies team right there. That's going to be coming on into Raleigh. So I like that right there.
Love the
So
nugget.
the other thing is like they faced an air raid last year and it didn't go well, but it was also because they had some weird turnovers. But remember, they went to Mississippi State last year, right? So this
that's
defense,
what I'm saying. They ran the opening kickoff pack and then like just sort of slipped behind. And a lot of that's really more on Mississippi State's defense. So we know Zach Arnett is a terrific defensive coordinator. The Bulldogs have a good defensive line. Like that was more about NC State's offense not being able to get anything going more than necessarily Mississippi State's air raid carving them up.
exactly.
All right, let's see. What about, I got to give a shout out to my guy, Jake Fettner from Sportsline. He gave this pick out and I mean, I'm tailing it because I think it's a phenomenal play. Georgia Tech team total under against Ole Miss. And the angle is that for all the discussion mentions that we have about the Ole Miss quarterback position, the Ole Miss defense is playing at a really, really high level right now. Georgia Tech, not a trustworthy team in general. And this is a spot where in that matchup, the one thing that you can trust the most is that this Rebels defense that's playing well is going to keep Jeff Sims in check. Georgia Tech will not score a lot. So shout out to Jake. I believe that's a Sportsline value play too. So as always, sign up for a Sportsline subscription. But I'm going to go ahead and lock that one up as well. Georgia Tech team total under against Ole Miss.
Lock
What's the
agreement
number
all
you
day.
got?
23 and a half.
23.5. All right.
Yeah, I've been looking for this all morning for personal reasons too. Yeah, I like this quite a bit. The only real hesitation I have in betting these opponent team total unders against Ole Miss is that Lane Kiffin still plays correctly, like by the fourth down book. And while it increases your win probability, it does increase the score in these games, right? Like you have to artificially increase Ole Miss totals, I would say. That's probably a little carrot if you guys want to use that in the chat. Even so, I still don't think Georgia Tech is going to score more than 3 touchdowns in this game without crazy turnover luck, which got me last week with Kentucky. So whatever, it could happen, but under 23.5 for me. And fire up the drill. We have a Dennis pick in this game too. Remember, we actually used to play a real drill. Terrible for people listening in the car.
Yeah, it's the opposite of ASMR. Like it actually triggers the worst experiences possible.
100%.
Okay. All right, so what's the Dennis say about this game?
So Dennis obviously is an Ole Miss alum. Shout out for the good dental advice I got when Liam smacked his face on the couch recently. Saved me a trip to the dentist. He took under last night when he texted me. He took under 64, but best I see right now is 63. So we're going to give him 63 and under 63 in Ole Miss Georgia Tech. He thinks Ole Miss defense is legit, and they're going to be able to shut down Georgia Tech.
Dig it. All right, so let's see. Tom, what you got?
Last week, I asked the people a simple question. Or asked them a favor more than anything. I asked them to believe in Kansas. Kansas not only covered the spread against West Virginia, it went on the road and beat West Virginia. Well, the same problems I saw in that West Virginia defense that posed a problem for them against this Kansas offense exist again this week with Houston, a team whose rush defense is currently ranked let's see here, 117th nationally in success rates, 104th in explosive runs it's allowing. Meanwhile, Kansas has one of the most explosive offenses in the country. And yes, one of the first games of the season was against, I think it was South Dakota State or somebody of that nature. And they did well against them. But they ranked 10th overall. Their explosive rush rate of 16.7% ranked 6th. And it's in line with the improvements that I saw from Kansas in the second half of last year. It's in line with what we saw from Buffalo the last few years there with Jarrett Patterson under Lance Leipold and that offense there. Kansas is just transitioning into a much better team than you typically think it is. And again, the market has not really caught on. This is a Houston team that has struggled in both of its games to get by UTSA and then last week losing in overtime to Texas Tech. It might not be one of the best teams in the group of 5 after all, or even if it is, I don't think it's this much better than Kansas. So give me the Jayhawks plus 9.5. Believe in Kansas.
I like that a lot. I've also been sniffing around this over. Seems a little low, but no strong lock, or that's just more of a lean right now at this point. Anyone else getting in on Kansas?
I can see y'all's plays. It's too much for me, but I see what you're doing.
All right. Believe. So my mind was blown when I saw the live chat arbitraging lines. And Bud has done a lot.
Are they really?
They're
live arbing us?
No, this was like last year. It started popping off in the chat, and you pointed it out, and I was like, "What is that?" And you had to explain it to me live on the show. I blew my mind that you would place 2 bets just to be able to win a little bit of money and do it time and time again. That it fundamentally is not why I get in this kind of operation, because I really am in this for recreation. What I'm saying is I am not smart money. Okay.
Yeah, but you are the leader in ROI if you combine your sprinkles and your ATS picks this year. Like you are literally your R is for return so far.
You're our guru. Yeah.
The chipalytics, the vibes. It would be hilarious. This is all heart, baby. This is not a lot of head. This is not a lot of modeling. Because smart money would try to fade out of the Vanderbilt team total over as Vanderbilt finds itself as a 2.5-point underdog at Northern Illinois. But you know what? I ain't smart money. We back our doors. We double down. We double anchor down, and we take Vanderbilt plus the 2.5 because the over cashes on Saturday at Northern Illinois. Vanderbilt gets the win. Our win total cashes. 3 wins by the end of September, as it was foretold. Let's go.
Over by October.
That's right.
I love it. I'm not locking this up with you, but I am going Vandy alt line on this.
What?
Yeah, I think there's some chance they blow them out.
Sick. Oh, man, that would make me so happy.
My variance for this game, like I'm looking at my spreadsheet right here, is very wide. I think there's you could tell me one team won by 20 or the other team won by 20, and it would not totally shock me.
Carter Blackburn and Randy Cross on the call right there on the mothership CBS Sports Network in the 3:30 slot. Get your screens out. You're going to need them as you're watching Vanderbilt cash that win total for us. Listen, I've been asked all week, hey, we're so close. Do we hedge it out here? Do we hedge it out here? No, not when it's a play like this. Not when it's this emotional. You don't hedge it out. Let's go. All right. I think I've got one left. Yeah.
I got one more left. Maybe bang it out.
I have
a lot.
You guys got a couple. Meep. Anyone? The Roadrunners. Jeff Traylor. Back-to-back overtime games. 1 he loses. 1 he wins. Could it be 3 in a row overtime games, which would put it inside the number? Give me the 12.5 with the dog. Texas, this is the sketchiest of sketchiest games for me. Texas, what are we getting? Like, is this about you guys being back? Because if they are, they'll boat race UTSA. They should. But I'm not so certain yet that exactly what Texas is. Not to mention Hudson Card. What's his health? Is he gonna be fine? Are you probably? I think what you're going to see is a healthy dose of Bijan Robinson trying to establish that line. I think they just want to win and get out of Dodge. I don't know if they're going to blow them out. And Frank Harris running around, running all over that Texas defense, which was phenomenal against Alabama. Let's see how they do against this offense. I think this has backdoor cover written all over it. This is going to be UTSA's Super Bowl, who, by the way, has the toughest 3-game stretch to start the season, maybe of anybody in the country. It is brutal. They've come out 1-1. Give me the Roadrunners and the 12.5.
Let me, I know you got a split here, so let me give this to you real quick. It's the University of Texas, right? I doubt every one of my players came in to play for me over Sark. They all know they were overlooked. Everybody in the state knows they probably would have gone there, but they didn't want them. It's a tremendous motivating factor for people. And when you know you're not wanted, you get the opportunity to go play that team.
Bam. Jeff Traylor, high school, Texas football, high school coach. Let's go. Let's get him ready to go.
Are you going to fight him, bud?
No, I have. No, it's not a big enough. Like I try to put my best stuff here on the show. Like I do have a small position on Texas, but I'm not fighting it.
Okay. You had me clapping like a seal because I thought we were about to have another lock fight on here, especially for a game involving teams right there in the Big 12. But that is, I mean, UTSA is 100% the vibes play without a doubt. USC-Fresno, anybody jumping in on it?
I have inklings. I'm not locking anything up.
Tremendous live betting opportunity in this game. Like,
what is the tremendous? Will you explain it?
Well, I just feel like it's going to ping pong around a lot of points, and you'll be able to get kind of what numbers you want to get.
Speaking of a lot of points, who wants to buckle up with Maryland and SMU?
I do want to actually.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, before we get into that, I do want to bring up one stat about USC because it's a theme on this show that I've brought up many years. And I didn't have a chance to bring it up earlier this week. 2020, we talked about Indiana's turnover luck. Do you know what USC's points off turnover margin is through 2 games?
35?
52. They have a turnover margin of +8 after 2 games. They have scored 52 points off of those 8 turnovers. They have not turned the ball over yet. USC has looked very good offensively. It's also gotten pretty damn lucky in a lot of areas. Just something to keep in mind.
Maryland, SMU over 73.5.
Yeah, agreement.
Yes. I mean, and this is another one where it opened at 69.5, and so we've already crossed a couple of key numbers, and I still am going to ride with this one because the makeup of both these teams is going to allow them to fit easily into a style of game where we're just going to see it fly up and down the field. I don't know. Do you have a specific angle here?
Yeah. My angle is that Maryland has a tremendous receiving core, and I think SMU's offense is really good. Also, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but Maryland's corner who had the freak weightlifting injury, who's a starter, and Maryland's secondary is already bad. He won't return until the Michigan game, which is next week for them. So, yeah.
Points.
I think the winner of this game scores 45 points.
Yeah. Love that. I think I'm out. Anybody else got any more locks before we get to the big cash register?
I've got 2.
I've got 2. Let Tom go, and then I'll dump. I got a couple.
All right. This one, I was not allowed to talk about the Illinois-Virginia game on Saturday night. Bud banned me from speaking of it because he didn't want people to understand how bad Virginia actually is because he was worried that the market would catch on. And it has, in that I got it when it opened at Old Dominion plus 10.5. It is currently the best number I can get is 8.5 as far as I could tell. And I'm still going to take it because I think it's a good number-ish, not as good as 10.5, but also principle. You might remember from the week 0 game when Old Dominion beat Virginia Tech. On the sidelines, there's an adorable little yellow lab named Hudson who's wearing doggy Crocs. Hudson is a service dog in training. Hudson is a mascot for the Monarchs. And Hudson is not allowed on the sidelines at Scott Stadium for Virginia. They are not letting the dog come. I am officially making the announcement that the Who's are no longer my Who's. They became my Who's when they hired Bronco Mendenhall because I loved Broncos BYU teams. I adopted them. But this move, sorry, I'm out. I will not abide it. Give me Old Dominion plus 8.5. I hope they beat you, and I hope you suffer the consequences from hurting that little dog's feelings.
I will give you 9.5.
Nice.
I will take it.
Yeah. What's the other one you got, Tom?
My second one is just, Iowa, Nevada under 39. Like, I mean,
Unders in the 30s to get dirty.
Yeah, like this is just. I don't think Iowa's off. Like, I think Iowa's offense is going to be better this week against Nevada because Nevada's defense stinks. So this is going to be the week I think that Iowa cracks 20 points. The problem is Nevada's offense is just as bad as Iowa's, but they've got to face the Iowa defense. So I don't really like the value on the team totals though. So for me, I feel like this is like a 27-3 game. So give me the under 39 in Iowa, Nevada.
I really want Nevada team total under first half, but like if there's ever a team that can botch this because they turn it over in their own end, it's this Iowa team. And B,
yes,
the books are not putting this up because I think it's just obvious that like even if you put half, I'm going to bet under at like minus 150 or better. I think shutout pretty good here. I laid 20 at open. 23 is a little rich for my blood. I see where you're going with this. I just wonder, like, they could score 40 on Nevada by themselves.
Mm-hmm. But they
Incarnate Word just dropped
Iowa.
55. Yeah.
Nighttime at Kinnick Stadium. All right, Bud, what are your last two?
No, I've got more than two. Let's go.
Let's
go. I got 3 sickos and a couple first half shots. This
all
is
right.
Jordan. I'll paste all these in the chat for you.
All right.
Sickos. Georgia Southern over 21.5. I think this offense is for real. That's team total. Buffalo over 22. I think Buffalo is going to be able to score a little bit on Coastal Carolina. La Tech over 9.5 in Clemson. Clemson does have the look ahead here to Wake Forest. So over 9.5 team total. Last team total for me, Cal under 14. Notre Dame's defense is still really good, and I think Cal's offense is dreadful. All right. So in keeping with that whole look ahead situation type thing, first I want the first half, not the whole thing. I have 3. Cincinnati minus 13, quote unquote, at Miami, Ohio. It's actually a neutral site game. Remember to adjust your power ratings by whatever you use your home field for because they're playing this in Paul Brown Stadium. Washington State minus 9.5, hosting Colorado State. MTSU sacked Colorado State 9 times last week. I actually like Washington State's defensive line. However, they have the look ahead to Oregon, so I'm not going to play the full game. I'm playing that minus 9.5. Ohio State minus 20 over Toledo. They get both receivers back this week. I still think the defense is quite good, and I think Ryan Day at some point wants to have an impressive first half throwing the football. They do have an look ahead rather to Wisconsin next week, so that's why I'm playing the first half there, so minus 20. And my last one, I'm just fading Bowling Green here, and I think Marshall, despite the fact they were a little inflated last week because of turnovers, is a pretty decent team and is much more athletic than Bowling Green. So I will lay the 16.5 points on the road at Bowling Green with Marshall and hope that they don't have the letdown game. And that's my full card for this week.
All right. Before we get to Moneyline Sprinkles, a not so brief review of the games that we got. Tom is on. First of all, lock infinity across the board on Miami, Texas A&M under 44.5. Tom's also got the under 57.5 in Florida State, Louisville. That is a lock agreement with Danny. Auburn plus 3 against Penn State. South Carolina team total under 14.5 against Georgia. Kansas plus 9.5 against Houston. Old Dominion plus 9.5 against UVA. Iowa, Nevada under 39. I've got also, in addition to Miami A&M, I've got the Georgia, South Carolina under 55. I've got Minnesota minus 27.5 against Colorado. Washington minus 3.5 against Michigan State. The Georgia Tech team total under 23.5. Vandy plus 2.5 against Northern Illinois. Maryland-SMU over 73.5. Danny also has the Florida State Louisville under 57.5. Nebraska plus 10.5. The Nebraska-Oklahoma over 66.5. Texas A&M minus 5. NC State minus 10. And UTSA plus 12.5. Bud has, in addition to Miami A&M under, the Wyoming team total first half under 7.5. Oklahoma minus 10. That's a lock fight with Danny. The Auburn team total under 23. The Georgia Tech team total under 23.5. The Colorado first half team total under 4.5. Maryland-SMU over 73.5. The Georgia Southern team total over 21.5. The Buffalo team total over 22. The Louisiana Tech team total over 9.5. The Cal team total under 14. Cincinnati minus 13 in the first half. Washington State minus 9.5 in the first half. Ohio State minus 20 in the first half. And Marshall minus 16.5. That brings us to the big cash register as we take a look at our money line sprinkles. So far, we have I'm 2-3 on money line sprinkles. Tom's 3-5. Danny's 2-6. Bud is 1-7. Last week, we saw Tom cash Iowa State plus 155. Took losses for BC, Houston, and Baylor. I took losses with Arizona and Stanford. Danny with 3 losses with Navy, Army, and Pitt. And Bud with 1 win with Duke plus 305, and then losses on Eastern Michigan and Baylor. So, Bud, what is your money line sprinkle for this week?
So I am starting with Old Dominion plus 280. Very similar to Tom's pick. Yeah.
I mean, like we don't really do full the lock agreement, infinities. Like if you're in on it, you're in on it. But Old Dominion was 100% going to be selected here. This is a Virginia team we're trying to get on the other side of, an ODU program that already beat Virginia Tech this year. Like this, they can win that game. And I didn't even know about the dog.
Yeah, the dog puts it
justice for Hudson.
Justice for Hudson.
Vandy plus 122. Obviously, if you're going to outline it, you got it. Oh, 125. I'll take that. There we go.
Agreement.
There's one more I'm sitting on. That. Oh, wait. So Tom and Danny?
Yep.
We have Unity.
Yeah. I mean, should we just do infinity on
Vandy money line?
Right, we can't overuse these things, but we're all on Vandy. That's just sort of like a principle from the heart. Vandy money line. We're all going to be on it. We'll just
go get it, Doors.
Just keep hitting. Just keep hitting that over and over and over again. All right. And then Tom, what else do you have?
My 2 sprinkles are, the first one, I'm taking North Texas plus 125. I just think that there's a decent chance they win this week. And then finally, I'm going to look up real quick because this is a direct message I got. I was taking this anyway, but this is from Jonathan Foster, who DM'd this to me. I am taking Texas A&M Miami plus 180 against Texas A&M because it was pointed out to me via Reddit from Jonathan Foster on DM. The newest iOS update on your iPhone should sort them out, because if you look up the history of iOS updates against A&M's next performance, things have not gone well for Texas A&M. The game immediately following a new iOS version, Jimbo has lost. 2020 is the only outlier due to COVID games that didn't start until September 26th, and iOS 14 was released on the 16th. In 2018, iOS 12 came out. A&M lost to Alabama. In 2019, iOS 13 came out. A&M lost to Auburn. 2020, we mentioned they beat Vandy, but that was not the week afterwards because the season started at a different time. 2021, iOS 15, the week after, A&M lost to Arkansas. iOS 16 came out this week. They play Miami this week. Miami plus 180.
I'm going to get roasted for this, but wouldn't you sort of peg Texas A&M as more of the Android type users?
Also, do you think Jimbo Fisher knows how to use a cell phone? Because I'm pretty sure he was one of those, I don't use email guys back in the day.
Sliced bread would suggest that he is not exactly popping on the blogosphere for sure. But that's incredible. The iOS principle for fading Jimbo Fisher's Texas A&M Aggies.
I think he might be one of those guys that has the Android Note and actually uses the pen with it.
Danny is also on Western Michigan against Pitt. We got that 3-1. I mean,
that happens again.
That would be.
I'll give you a number, Jordan. 318 is the best I see.
Yep. Okay, so is that? Are we good? We're all out.
Those are all mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody want to sneak in one last Nebraska one?
No, God, no.
I mean, that'd be something. If they
won, in worse shape than my basement.
If they won a 1-score game right after firing Scott Frost against Oklahoma, that'd be something. I don't know if it would be hilarious, but it'd be something. We'll see.
Okay. For a second, I thought that Tom, in addition to blowing his back out and having his basement flood, went and got gauges in his ears, but he finally turned to the side enough where I could tell that he's actually just wearing the long black AirPods. Okay. Yeah. Or the heads. Like, did you go? That would be incredible.
That was, I've had such a bad week that I decided to have giant holes put in my head just to cope.
We're taking it back to 1999 when we were our most emotional. And so going with big gauges. Let's go.
Jordan says he'll lock up Nebraska, but I don't think he counts. But Jordan, the best number I can get you
335.
Yeah.
At home.
Jordan, I'll give you 335 on Nebraska in the text thread.
335. All right. Just keep your eye. I mean, of course, you're going to have your eye on it. It's Oklahoma at Nebraska. The game's going to last 4.5 hours. Probably going to be decided by one score. We'll see. Should be a lot of fun. And reminder, Saturday night, the instant reaction to everything that happened during week 3, probably our live commentary on Texas A&M duck hooking a game-tying field goal attempt against Miami will all be happening on the Instant Reaction Show. Make sure you're subscribed to the Cover 3 podcast on YouTube. Smash the bell for notifications. Follow us on Twitter so that you can get alerts when we're about to go live. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fernelli. You can follow him at BudElliott3. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.